Hello, beautiful souls. Thank you so much for dropping by the video. This is going to be a response to a letter I got. This letter really touched my heart because um, it reminds me of many pieces of my own journey. Many of the details are different, but the journey very, very similar. And I have this person's permission to read this letter. So I grew up in a quite religiously strict Christian belief system enforced by my parents. Very early on, I realized this was not for me. So many arbitrary and conflicting rules that did not make much sense to me, and so much hatred and ignorance within the church. Despite this, I couldn't help but be pulled to spirituality and something beyond what everyone else around me was believing. I wanted one single, undeniable, universal truth and felt like I could not rest until I found out what it was. So before I read further, I just want to say thank you for sharing that. That's so beautiful, that desire, that deep burning desire. I felt it too. Thank you. I found a particular, on this channel, I don't really use names anymore. I did at one point, but so I'm just going to say that teacher or a particular teacher. I found a particular teacher in the summer of 2021, and he was more or less what I'd been looking for. He was so different from any figure from my Christian upbringing. He seemed open-minded, laid back, kind, caring. Furthermore, actually, before I read any further, so that's one of the things I've learned the hard way is you can't, and I fell for it too with this teacher and with many others. Until you've hung out with them, you don't know who they are. A lot of these teachers, it completely is a show. They literally get up and put on a show. And for the big teachers, these shows are recorded and there's special lighting and there's a special seat and they're wearing special clothes. It really is an act. I found this out the hard way through really getting to know some teachers, but modern Neo-Advaita, if we just take a step back and analyze it, it's a show. Someone's up on a stage. If the teacher's big enough, they're up on a stage. That's not how spirituality works. Spirituality is not someone giving a talk to a group of people. It's individual guidance. It's relational. And by relational, that's not a quick question and answer session. It's a profound, maybe for like generalized spiritual things like forgiveness, or okay, sure, like someone can give a talk from a stage, but for something like non-duality, it's absurd. And I invite everyone here to just stop for a moment and reflect on how much of a show it is, right? Literally, stage, lighting, cameras, oftentimes now it's recorded or live streamed. There's often an admission ticket. It's got a beginning and an end, like it's highly structured. It truly is a show. It's amazing. I can't believe it took me years to realize that. But so I'll continue reading. Furthermore, it also felt pretty intuitive to me. Like the way this teacher described the universal truth of the self makes so much sense when you listen to it. All my questions were answered. And it also, wow, 5 live viewers. Hey everyone, welcome. I'm reading someone's letter. If you have questions or comments, feel free to type them in and I'll get to them. Not only does it sound intuitive, it feels intuitive. Because Neo-Advaita will give you a taste of enlightenment. It'll give you a taste of the of the relative self subsiding for a period of time. So it's not only and again, I don't know your experience, but many, many people, it doesn't just sound intuitive, they actually have an experience. I would say it's a legitimate spiritual experience, but non-duality isn't about having experiences. It's about liberation. It's about an experience that never ends. So I'm not saying these spiritual experiences are bad or wrong, but many of us have had these spiritual feelings during satsang and felt just like you, like, oh my God, this is it. Like, this is the truth. My understanding, having studied classical, now having studied real non-duality, is that's just a temporary subsiding of the mind. And Ramana talks about this. So it's like touching the truth and feeling the truth, but not actually realizing the truth. And that's how many of us get roped in, is not so much by the words, though that can be a part of it, but the feelings and the experience that we have. That being said, there was definitely an element that felt very unnatural. Good on you for noticing that. I noticed it too, but I overrode it because of this powerful feeling I was having. This person wrote, how are you supposed to live as this non-existent self? You can't. And so I constantly felt like I was failing. And so Neo-Advaita will give you a taste of the truth, but it will not teach you how to become liberated, which is, the end of suffering, nor will it tell you how to live. It will teach you how to have a dissociative spiritual experience. And that's the Neo-Advaita trap, is like you go to satsang and you feel it and you're like, oh my God, I'm free. I found the truth. And then that experience ends and you're like, oh, I've lost it. And then so you do some self-inquiry on your own and you're like, oh, I found it. But it's just temporary. And then, oh, I've lost it. And then you go to satsang and you're just like, some moments I have it and some moments I don't. And the satsang teacher will always tell you who is the one who doesn't come and go, or look for that which is aware of the coming and going. The problem with all of this, which I've talked about many times, is that's self-inquiry, and self-inquiry is only for a properly prepared mind. So you're like, okay, so the teacher is telling me what to do. I'm going to look for the one that doesn't come and go, or I'm going to look for the one who's aware of the coming and going. But that's self-inquiry, and self-inquiry is only for a radically prepared mind. According to Shankara and Ramana, only someone who has one-pointedness of mind, someone who has next to no interest in any worldly things. You have to practically be a saint. Basically, you have to be saintly, like in reality, and not just a temporary experience of feeling like a saint, because we've all felt it, of like, oh my God, I'm so pure. You feel that experience and you just feel pure. So yeah. Anyway, this person continues. I have a lot of mental health issues, which started when I was 17, and when I turned 17, my anxiety seemed to get 10 times worse. So I started watching many hours of this teacher's videos because I was convinced that if I could just embody this thing that he preached, that all of my problems would go away. That's what many Neo-Advaita teachers will teach you. This one thing will solve all your problems. I've heard it so many times. What they don't tell you is that to be ready to practice that one thing, there's much, much preparation needed. That's what Neo-Advaita teachers won't tell you, because it'd be bad for business. Just like me and just like this poor person, we got looped into this lie that self-inquiry and self-realization will solve all of our problems. I believe self-inquiry and enlightenment will solve all of our problems. What's untrue is that I was prepared that it was time for me to practice self-inquiry. What was untrue was that this teacher was actually enlightened. And what was untrue was that this teacher knew what they were doing and could lead me there. Those were the untruths. That's what makes Neo-Advaita so tricky, is it's half truths. If it was like 90% false, we could just like discount the 10%, but it's like 50% profoundly true and 50% BS. So, and this person wrote, and it kind of worked. I had less attachment to things, and so I cared less and less, and panic attacks happened less frequently. Existence was simultaneously miserable and delightful. I felt like I was living the ultimate truth, so I was not sad at all. I felt superior to people around me who were living normally, but basically I did not want anything to do with life at all. It felt so irrelevant. I thought it would be more perfect if I was dead. So many of us have felt that way. Neo-Advaita does not properly prepare the person. So what I've learned is that one of the key preparatory practices is karma yoga. Karma yoga is the art of training your mind to do everything for God, to do your duty, to identify what's my duty in society, and then to go about doing it. And it teaches detachment, and it teaches it's an attitude. And then after that comes bhakti yoga. They two can be done simultaneously, but that teaches you to love God. And then to combine that, to love and serve God. And that gives you an operating system, so that when this spaciousness is found, then you have a way of life. Neo-Advaita is a drug. It teaches you it gives you a dissociative high. So of course, this person didn't want anything to do with life. I didn't want anything to do with life. One person reached out to me, and this person was a parent, and they said, I'm starting to not care about my kids. They've been, studying and practicing Neo-Advaita. There's a big difference between detachment and dissociation. Detachment means not being enmeshed in things, but there's still room to care, and there's still an inclination to do what is right. That's part of karma yoga, the art of acting ethically and acting in service. But Neo-Advaita teaches a dissociative high. People who do various drugs and plant medicines, and I personally believe those things can be of benefit if done under the right circumstances. But if that's, once you become addicted to them, though, you can still give you a spiritual experience. But like any addiction, over time, what this person is describing as an addiction. Forget drugs for the moment. Any addiction, over time, you lose interest in life, and all you want to do is do the addictive behavior. Neo-Advaita is an addiction. For a properly prepared mind, it's very different. See, Neo-Advaita, the properly prepared mind, the ego is primarily chilled out. Like it's not gone, but it's primarily chill. So then when you do self-inquiry, it's not this big leap, right? Like this person, I had all sorts of psychological issues. So I would do self-inquiry, and then all those problems would disappear, but they didn't disappear. They were just repressed. So it was this big leap from like, to, but that, and it felt like release, but it wasn't. An addict, when they take their first drink or Whatever the addiction is, take the first compulsive bite. There's such a feeling of relief, but it's not a solution to the problem. It's just an addiction is a pressing down, and self-inquiry for the unprepared mind is a dissociation. And a little dissociation every now and then is maybe a healthy thing. But as a way of life, it doesn't work. And here this person described, I did not want anything to do with life at all. It felt so irrelevant. I thought it would be more perfect than if I was dead. That's how I felt. See if there's anything else I want to read from this letter. This person very beautifully wrote, I wish the best for this teacher. He has clearly had a very difficult upbringing. I don't blame him for what he does, but he needs some serious help. My heart aches for the people stuck under his control and the harmful belief system of Neo-Advaita. I just want to honor this person for having compassion for someone who really harmed them. That is spirituality. Not dissociating from problems. That, in my view, this person, that's what real spirituality is. It's meeting problems with wisdom. So I really salute and honor that. Thank you. Beautifully said. Let's see. This person wrote, I really liked what you said about writing poetry and dancing. Your videos are very healing to watch. I'm so glad they are. I have also been writing stories and trying to reconnect with my heart and spirit and love of myself. Beautiful. I'm remembering that it's okay to exist as a human. Humans are amazing. Ramana Maharshi was such a human. He was such a human. He would joke. He cried. He shed tears the day Gandhi was assassinated. He would get up and enact characters from Indian epics, and his voice would change, and he would take on different personas as he acted. He was so humble. I just heard a story the other day. When people were at the ashram, he would go to visit them in their rooms. And let's say the person was eating. And if when Ramana came into the room, again, they're like private room, Ramana would show up. And like if they were eating, if they would like put down their bowl and like frantically stand up and be like, oh, Guru, then he wouldn't go back to their room because he didn't want to disturb anything. But if they were eating and then Ramana comes in and they're just like, oh, hi, and they kept eating, then Ramana would go visit them again. He was so humble. Here he was, this enlightened sage, and he didn't want to disturb people. Moo, thanks for writing. And I'll get to your comment in a moment. So humble. So right on you to this person who wrote me for seeking your humanity, and because it's not about, see, Neo-Advaita is all about not being human, whereas in actual Advaita Vedanta, it is about an integration, and it's not so much an integration that we do, though we have our part, but it's this holistic. It's about inclusion. Yes, it's about letting go of the things that don't serve, but it's not about destroying our humanity. So I love the journey you're on. For now, I'm focusing on loving myself and restoring my trust in the universe. Boom. I don't understand why a lot of things happen the way they do, but loving individuals such as yourself make it easier. Oh my gosh. Wow. Thank you. I try and do this from a place of love. When I started this channel, I was very angry. And now I do more out of a place. It's much more, not 100%. I still have a little anger, but mostly I do it to help. And because it helps me, because Neo-Advaita is an addiction, it's very easy for me to fall back into not wanting to be a human. It's easier to just dissociate. It's so much easier. It doesn't work. It's easier in the short term, but it doesn't work. I love that you're trying to develop trust. I believe that will take you far, and no, it's not easy. But here's one of the things that they leave out in Neo-Advaita: karma. Hello. I have accepted that I was harmed by Neo-Advaita because I harmed people in my past. Maybe I was a false teacher. I don't know the specifics, but I just really taken to heart every bad thing that happens to me is a consequence of bad seeds that I planted in the past, and that there's something for me to learn. And it's not always the most fun medicine to swallow, but it's absolutely medicine for me. So I hope the teaching of karma, and please don't beat yourself up with it. I hope the teaching of karma can be medicine for you. And Moo, I'm just about done, and then I'll get to your comment. So yeah, beautiful letter. Thank you, thank you. And Mew, does having an experience with Neo-Advaita affect your relationship with God and self-inquiry in the future, if approached more carefully or through legitimate teachers? What I can say is, in my own experience, is that so here's my view: is that Neo-Advaita gives you a genuine experience. It's just a disingenuine route. So I believe that, yes, you do touch the truth, and the truth touches you, and there is impact. It's just the route is a harmful route. And so it's like you get to touch the top of the mountain, but then you've got to go down and then learn some of the basics. It's like learning how to fly before you're really ready. And then you got to go back to, I've had to go back to basics and learn some things like this person talked about, like learning trust and learning about karma and learning karma yoga and learning bhakti yoga. And so in my experience, it's been a bumpy road, but it actually, see, the good news about Neo-Advaita is, different mystics will say, there's a great quote: once you've had one taste of God, nothing else will ever do. And I don't know who said it. I can't find that quote, but it's true. Once you've experienced freedom, even if it's not full freedom, but a taste of freedom, then it sets you on fire to find that. So through Neo-Advaita, you taste freedom. It just doesn't give you a sustainable way to live that. And so I believe Neo-Advaita will provide you, once you're ready, with the proper motivation to really seek God and or truth, or however you label the supreme. And it does give you a lucidity. Like it does have positive impact. It has very negative impact. But I believe the goodness in my journey, the goodness has been prepared me to. I'm being vague because I've kind of thought about this, but I haven't sat down and been like, okay, what are the benefits of Neo-Advaita? But my feeling for myself is that it does plant good seeds. But I wouldn't advise anyone to pursue it. There's other ways to get those good seeds planted. So I would say and this is one of the positives, is it does introduce people to it's like if we think of actual non-duality as a pure river, and Neo-Advaita is this little stream that's connected to the river and very dirty and actually harmful. So you get in that dirty, harmful stream, you do get a taste of the water, even though it's impure, and it does create a connection, I believe, to the pure truth. However, I've met and heard of people who, once they saw through Neo-Advaita, they wanted nothing to do with spirituality. So I'm not going to sit here and praise Neo-Advaita, but I'm not going to deny that it can plant seeds that down the road can produce some positive fruit. So, but it's very dangerous, especially if you take it seriously. And I took it seriously. Aw, thanks, Mew. All right, dear ones, I'm going to wrap this one up. Thank you, Mew, for your questions and your feedback and comments. And love this channel, and I love that it's helping people. It's helping me, and to hear that it helps other people makes my day. All right, angels, take care. Big love.